It is Mukhwana Isaac with the journey through the Bible. I welcome you to episode 3. We did the introduction and of course we finished. Today I want us to kickstart the creation of the world for man, the friend of God. And here we look at the creation accounts, the accounts of creation we find in the Bible. But before we go any further, I'll ask you to subscribe, to comment, to like and share. Inform somebody. May you inform someone that a journey through the Bible is ongoing. The third episode has landed. We read that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. That is Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 to 2. In these few opening words, the Bible, the sacred writer, already teaches us much, a lot. He tells us that one, God was always there. Secondly, He created the earth and everything that we see. It is God who created them. And thirdly, the earth was not as it is now, as it is today. That is, it was void. Another word for void, we could say empty. It had nothing. And the fourth one is that the Spirit of God, where we read He was, or He is always at work, was working on the earth to make it into something more than it at that very beginning. And so we who know God's plan, because we know Jesus Christ, and of course the message He brought, can already add here the reason for this creating and developing activity of God. God does not act without a reason, and God's reason is giving us Christ, and it is given to us by Christ. I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. We read this in the Gospel according to John chapter 10, verse 9, verse 10. And we now know what this life is. It is God's own life, as St. John says. See what love the Father has given us, that we should be called His children, the children of God, and so we are. Beloved, we are God's children now. It does not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when He appears, we shall be like Him, for we shall see Him as He is. We read this in 1 John chapter 3, verse 1 and 3. That is why in the first words of the Bible, we can already see God's goodness. He created the world, and His Spirit remained with the world to produce in it the full carrying out of God's plan for creation. That is what we see here. And so the Bible now tells us about something of the things, actually some of the things which God created, ending with the creation of man. The writer of the book of Genesis, which means the beginning, the start, pictures God dividing the work of creation into 6 days. The sacred writer did this. It does not mean that God created everything in 6 days. No, thank you. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning. That is one day. Genesis chapter 1, verse 3 to 5. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and God called the firmament heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. That is now verse 6 to 8. We shall get to know one time as we move on with the journey through the Bible. We shall get to know why God started with evening. The writer presents evening, then morning, not saying there was morning and evening, as we know that the day starts with morning. Yes, we shall get to know that. And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. Verse 9 to about 10. And God said, let the earth put forth vegetation. Now, when you go through all these, when you reach somewhere, God said, then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea. Very many things God put under us, that we have dominion over them. You find man running away from a cockroach. You find man running away from a spider. You find man running away from these small tiny ants. You see? And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a sixth day. We read this in Genesis chapter 1, verse 24 to about 31. Now, this account of creation, it almost seems like a litany. You see, it tells us that God created everything, that everything he created was good, that everything leads up to and is for man, whom God made like himself. And so, if we join this truth to the findings of science, we shall, only if we are humble of heart, rejoice in God's goodness, which created such beautiful things and caused them to develop to such a condition when man would be able to use them, and of course enjoy them in carrying out his life, God's plan for him. In each and everything that we do, talk about the trees we see, everything must be for the glorification of God, and it's for the plan of God, salvation, the salvific plan of God. As we proceed, we shall see how God came to realize this. And of course, in our next episode tomorrow, we shall look at the second chapter, where we see the second creation account. Thank you. It is Mukhwana Isaac. Comment, share, like, and subscribe.